Hello students, welcome back to your online session for physics class today. Now I hope you all remember that in our last class we did measurement of mass and we studied about units of mass, then beam balance and different types of balances, right? Now today, continuing with that same topic, we are going to learn or study about electronic balance, the another type of balance in measurement of mass. An electronic balance is a device used to find accurate measurements of mass. Accurate because it is an electronic balance. And in this electronic balance, I hope most of you must have seen it, right? It even shows the mass or the weight in points. This balance is used for very commonly in laboratories for weighing chemicals to ensure a precise measurement of those chemicals. Electronic balance is used for accurate measurements. Okay, like in laboratories, we need to have accurate chemicals. So for that use, it is very useful. Okay. Now electronic balance may also be used to weigh food and other grocery items. Yes, as we can see nowadays, even grocery stores or vegetable vendors and fruit vendors also used to have such kind of balance, this kind of electronic balance. Now, electronic balances have gained popularity in the modern world and not in vain. In comparison to the physical balances, electronic devices have got certain advantages. Now, let us see their advantages. They have no bulky mechanical details, are reliable, accurate, and durable. It means its structure or like it is not very heavy or its structure is not very bulky, like we can easily carry it anywhere. Then they are reliable, their measurements are accurate, and they are durable. We can use it for long time. The latter fact is explained easily. The balance is in equilibrium. The mechanical parts are all stable and fixed, and it means they do not wear out that quickly. It means its structure. We can easily keep all the weight, yeah, whatever weight we need to measure, we can just keep it easily. Okay, and they are stable and fixed. We can just keep it at one place and they will be fixed over there. If we'll see such kind of balances or such kind of balances, they can easily just have so many complications, like what if it will fall apart. Okay, what if the measurements will not be clear, what if it will just broke down. So all these things doesn't happen with such kind of yeah, all this kind of electronic balance. Okay, they are generally used for weighing fractional mass as well as heavy mass. It means we can also weigh a small mass in that in this kind of balance and also heavy mass. Now let us see the precautions. Electronic balance precautions. Make sure the balance is level and on a stable surface. Level means its settings should be at 0 and it should be kept at stable surface, okay, at a plane surface. Make sure the range of the balance is appropriate for the mass being measured, because here we can see a button used to be also given over here, so we can change the settings or change the units from that button. Okay, so we can also we should also make sure the range of the balance should be appropriate. Make sure the balance reads to the correct decimal place, also known as readability. 0.1 gram, 0.001 gram, and 0.001 gram. So whatever kind of balance we are or weight we are measuring, the balance should also be at correct decimal place. Now make sure the pan is free of particles and substances, as this could affect results. It means this place where we are going to keep weight, it should be empty. There should not be any particle over here, because that could lead to results, that could lead to a final measurement. Carefully transfer substance from stock container to the weighing vessel. Add the substance in a small increments until the desired mass is present in the weighing vessel. We have to just whatever thing or whatever item we are going to measure, we need to transfer it very carefully and in small increments, very slowly we should uh, increase the item over here. Discard any substance still present on the scoop or spatula. Whatever substance is there, like if we are keeping a container or anything over here, make sure to just discard it, make sure to just keep it empty. Never return stock chemicals to the container means like whatever thing we are keeping or whatever container we are keeping over here, okay, in that container if we are pouring some chemical, we should never pour it back to the main thing, okay, to the main container. Now we will move on to measurement of time. Student, let us first of all see there are three types of clocks given over here, and what does time relates with, or how we can measure time. We can see time using clocks, right? So this first one is a wall clock, second one is a wristwatch, and third one is a stopwatch. And I hope you all have seen, at least you all must have seen stopwatch function in our mobiles as well, right? Because this one, it is not necessary for all of us that we have seen it or used it, but in our mobiles we all have seen or used stopwatch function. Let us study it further. Time is defined as a gap between two events. Time has a very important role to play in planning various activities in our routine life. We measure time with the help of clocks or watches. Yes, that is true. That like using clocks, wall clock or watches we use to measure time, and it is defined as a gap between two events. Like let me give an example. The time when we go to school and the time when we come back from school. Okay, so the gap between like our going and coming back to from school, we used to define that gap in time, like how much time we have spent in school, right? We measure time with the help of clocks or watches. In olden days, the repetition of events was studied to count the time interval. The repetition of events means like in olden days, we all must have heard that our ancestors used to see sun, like the shadow of sun used to be the main thing from which they used to guess timing. Okay, now. um, For example, the time between sunrise to sunset or to the next sunrise, the duration between the full moon and to another full moon. This is how they used to measure time, like from sunrise to sunset, or from next to or to next sunrise, like from sunset to next sunrise. Then duration of months or days used to be counted from one full moon to another full moon, etc. Were considered to measure time intervals. So these were the things that they used to use when clock or watches were not there. Later, some events which repeated themselves regularly and that too after equal intervals of time were found out. These events are called periodic. Like the events that repeats themselves regularly and that too after equal intervals of time were found out. Like just as an example, we can see uh, Sunday to Sunday, like that is regular. One Sunday will go, another will come. One Sunday will go, another will come. Right? Then, so these are called periodic. The principle of periodic motion is even used nowadays in the mechanically operated wall clocks, wristwatch, watches, and clocks. So the periodic motion is nowadays also used in mechanically operated wall clocks. Like see, after this 12, it is 1 over here. But after how much time we can come to this point? After exact 60 minutes. Then again after exact 60 minutes we will come over here. After again 60 minutes we will come over here. So this is how like it is going periodically, right? So it happens in all the clocks. Like in a stopwatch also, if we are just counting till 20 seconds, so after 5 seconds it will come over here, after 5 seconds again it will come over here, then again here, then again here. This is how it happens. Okay, now see, stop clocks and stopwatches can be started and stopped at will. It means like whenever we want, we can start and stop our stop clocks and stop watches. They are used where we need to find the time taken for an event, such as time taken by an athlete to run a 100-meter race. So stopwatches or stopwatch, so like they are used whenever we need to take a specific time for an event. Like if a person is racing or an athlete has to run, so we'll just start this stop clock, and when the race will end we can just stop that stop clock. So we will get the specific or the particular time in which that athlete will complete the race. Okay, now for primitive peoples it was satisfactory to divide the day into such things as early morning, midday, late afternoon and night. However, as societies became more complex, the need developed to more precisely divide the day. The modern convention is to divide it into 24 hours, an hour into 60 minutes, and a minute into 60 seconds. So the earlier people, like when the watches were not there with us, so what they used to do, they used to divide their time by like just early morning, midday, late late afternoon and night. However, like in our society, like as we are like seeing it or as we are experiencing it, the day is precisely being divided into 24 hours. And then like if we need to divide hours also, then 1 hour into 60 minutes and 1 minute into 60 seconds. So time is measured with the help of the mean solar day. A mean solar day is the time taken by the earth to complete one rotation on its axis. To measure time, a mean solar day is divided into 24 equal intervals, and each interval is called an hour. So actually time is measured with the help of mean solar day. And what is mean solar day? It is the time taken by the earth to complete one rotation on its axis. Earth when completes one rotation on its axis is called mean solar day. Now to measure time, mean solar day is divided into 24 equal intervals, and each interval is called an hour. So it means 24 equal intervals it is divided into, and each part is called hour. An hour is further divided into 60 equal parts. Each part forms a minute. Then hour is divided into minutes. Then minute is divided into seconds. So this is how time is actually divided. Okay, now we will study or see the units of time. The second is the SI unit of time. So seconds, like 60 seconds or like seconds in time, is the SI unit. It is abbreviated as S. Small s is denoted by seconds. Now one mean solar day is equals to 24 hours. In one mean solar day there are 24 hours. In 1 hour we can see there are 60 minutes, which means it is 1 upon 24th part of a mean solar day. Now 1 minute is equals to 60 seconds, which means it is 1 upon 1140. Now how we have got this 1140? We have multiplied 24 into 60. Okay, now 1 second is equals to 1 upon 864,008th part of the mean solar day. How we got it? Like by multiplying 24 into 60 into 60. Okay, now there are some, so it is like this one part. So how we got it? By multiplying 24 into 60 into 60, we will obtain this thing. Okay, Now there are some bigger units of time are the year, decade and millennium. Now 1 day is equals to 24 hours, we all know it. 1 year is equals to 365 days, we also know this. Now 1 decade is equals to 10 years. It means like if you see written down somewhere 1 decade, so it will mean 10 years. Then 1 century means 100 years or 10 decades. And then 1 millennium means 1000 years or 10 centuries. Okay, so this is how the units or the conversion of time are there. Okay, now converting 24-hour time into 12-hour time. I hope you all have seen in railway stations we see a watch or a clock, okay, lying over there. So that clock is in 24 hours clock. Okay, so it means 000 on the 24-hour clock means it is 12 o'clock at night. Then 12 hours is 12 o'clock at noon. On the 12-hour clock, the time between 0000 hours and 12 o'clock at noon is AM, and between 12 o'clock and 00 hours at midnight is PM. It means like from night 12 o'clock to afternoon 12 o'clock it is AM, and from afternoon 12 o'clock to night to 12 o'clock it is PM. Okay, when the time is in AM in the 12-hour format, the time in the 24-hour format is the same without the AM. It means if it is like in 12-hour format, if it is 12 o'clock, means 12 hours from night to 12 hours till afternoon. It is same in 12-hour format also and in 24-hour format also. But the changes begins from afternoon 1 o'clock to night 12 o'clock. It becomes 13, then 14, then 15, then 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, then 21, then 22, 23, and then finally at night 12 o'clock it will become 24. Okay, in 24-hour format. We can see, for example, 2 AM in the 12-hour format will be 2. In 24-hour format also. Similarly, 11 AM in the 12-hour format will be 11 hours in 24-hour clock. The exception to this rule is 12 midnight in the 24-hour clock, which is 00 hours on the 24-hour clock. Okay, so 2 o'clock in 24-hour format and 12-hour format will be different. Okay, now you can just read this one. Let us move on to next page. When the time is in PM on the 12-hour clock, the time on the 24-hour clock is the time plus 12 without the PM. It means see 12 PM, PM means afternoon 12. Okay, on 12-hour clock is 2 plus 12. Just add that specific number. Like if it is 3 o'clock, then just add 3 plus 12, it will become 15. If it is 4 o'clock, then just add 4 to 12, it will become 16. So this is how it goes on in 24-hour clock and 12-hour clock. So this is how we have done, students, measurement of time. Now in our next class we will discuss measurement of temperature. Meanwhile, please try to read this page and this page very nicely and try to understand this thing. And if you have any doubt, you can feel free to ask it from me. Okay, that is all for today. Take care. Have a good day.